Well, hello and welcome to the Venue Success Podcast. I'm your host, Tirzah Caffee, and today I'm continuing season 1 with my dear friend and guest, Scott Davies. And I'm so incredibly excited for you to hear from him because as a lot of you are listening, we're at various places in our venue ownership, and some of us have been around like me for decades, and some of us are embarking in a new part of their career and are more fresh in the venue space. And so I'm really excited for you to hear from Scott as he tells you a little bit about their origin story, why they started their venue, and it's still fairly new. And he's going to be sharing some of his tips for those of you that are kind of newer in the venue space and things that he's learned along the way. But as always, let's just start with crazy stories with Tirzah because people have lost their mind. So when I was thinking about the story I wanted to share today, this may be a little bit of a downer, but I think it's really, really important. And Scott and I have talked about this a little bit before, but when you get into owning a venue, a lot of times we have this romantic idea that it's all sunshine and roses with these couples and that they're always going to be happy and they're planning the most wonderful day of their life, so they're going to be happy. And I think one of the things that I've learned after 3 decades is that I have had this role of venue owner / wedding planner / therapist. And the story came to my mind, and it was actually a sad story, but I say this because I want listeners to be aware that you need to look at this so much deeper than just a wedding day. These are humans with hard things going on in their lives. A lot of times weddings bring up some very painful things, sadness in some people, some relational traumas that they're having to deal with. And there was a bride, and we knew that she had kind of a difficult situation, but we didn't know to the extent of it. And I was standing at the top of the stairs, and our venue is set up in such that they come down the staircase and we open the doors, and they walk down the aisle. And she was standing at the top of the aisle, and she looked at me. She was like, "Oh my gosh, Tirzah, divorce is so expensive." And she was getting ready to walk down the aisle. And what do you do in that situation, right? It's like, the kind of huge part of me just want to be like, just let's call it off, girlfriend. You're right. Like, it's not worth it. But you have to be so very careful in those situations, obviously. But so you may be wondering, what did I do? I hold her hand, tell her to take a deep breath, and that she gets to do whatever she feels like is best for her in that situation. It's not a place for me to give my opinion. It's for her to make her decision. But I just share that story because I want to encourage you that, you don't know where people are at in their life, and you need to be empathetic with people when they're going through these hard things. There's a time and a place for a hard line, and anyone that knows me knows that I am quick to go there. But I just want to remind you to have empathy, and if you don't, you need to hire people that could be in that place where I was, standing at the top of the aisle, being able to hold a hand, wipe a tear, and tell her everything's going to be okay, and to give her a second to breathe. So, there's so many stories like that. There's been times when I've been at wedding shows and I've had brides like literally crying at our booth saying that they wish that they weren't engaged and, things like that. And it's the emotions that revolve around people going through this journey of getting married. So anyway, that's my little crazy story. Oftentimes I think about her and I wonder, like, how long they made it. Are they still married? Like, what happened with them? But again, this is just your reminder to have compassion, have empathy, and you just never know what's going on in people's lives. So that's my story. Don't mean to be a downer, but I think it's something that, as I introduce you to Scott here today, is something that I see so much in you. And I think that's why that story came to my mind, because I see in you and Krista that owning your venue is so much more than just a business. If it was just about making money or doing whatever, you've made your money. Like you've had your successes, that it's so much more than that for you guys. And I appreciate that about you. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend Scott. They own Ridgefield Weddings in Arcata, California. So tell us about you, what got you into the wedding industry. Take it away.
So happy to be here with you this morning, Tirzah. And I love that story because it speaks to one of the really most important pieces about being a venue owner, which is it's about your space on some level, but what it's really about is connecting with people. People want to feel like you're listening to who they are as a couple and that you're sharing with them on some level how you're going to pull the resources of your venue together to help craft the day that they're envisioning. So I love that story because whether it's high or low, it all kind of intersects on the ability to connect with people. And really that's one of our favorite parts. We always tell people that every wedding is different because every couple is different. And what we really love is going on the journey of discovering what's going to be special to them. I'll tell you a little bit about our sort of origin story. As you said, built this home about 20 years ago, have lived here for 20 years, and we had a housewarming party when we first built the house and had guests and friends over. Some of our oldest friends came to the party and said, "This place is amazing. Can we get married here?" And I said, "Sure." And they said, "Will you conduct our ceremony?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so I got to officiate the wedding of some dear friends who we're still close with, still live in Arcata. And at their wedding, people approached us and said, "Do you have business cards? You guys have a wedding venue?" And that was when the light bulb went on. And I think what's important about that story, that for us, our venue is really about the space. And by the space in part, I mean the home and the gardens that we've built here. But more importantly, it's the meadows and the redwood forest around us that really speak to people. And in that regard, so much of what we do is about shepherding and caring for this space and opening it up for people to celebrate their weddings. And it's really been a beautiful journey.
I love that. And you mentioned that you're there nestled in the redwoods, and in our show notes, you're going to have a link to their Instagram. And so please go over and look at just the beauty of your venue. It's just absolutely incredible. But one of the things that I think that is so special about how you've handled your big piece of land is your passion for conservation. So tell us a little bit more about that. And I know that you have donated a chunk of land to conservation. So tell me how you went about doing that and why you decided to do that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we're located on 80 acres of timberland here, very close to the ocean, right on Humboldt Bay in far, far northern California. We're actually very close to the westernmost point of the continental U.S. So the coast of California, this is as far west as it gets. And one of the things that comes with that is the perfect environment for redwoods. And we also abut our community forest in Arcata, which is the first community-owned forest in the country to get Smartwood certified. So it's again an extension of the redwood forest that's on our property. And we feel such a connection to this land, and we feel such an incredible amount of gratitude to be able to live here, to be able to bike or jog or hike out our back door through these incredible forests, that we made the decision a couple years ago to gift a conservation easement over our 80 acres to the city of Arcata, which we live in, to expand the habitat of the community forest and protect this property from development. There are no other 80-acre timber properties within this 2-mile from downtown Arcata. So it's a really special piece. There's the habitat opportunity because we connect with the forest. And it's been a really sort of hand-in-hand gesture with our wedding business because people naturally feel this cathedral feeling among these ancient trees. And when they understand that instead of developing the property along a more traditional route, that we've decided to protect it, it really is a perfect foundation for the kind of ceremony and love foundation that people are looking for to experience their wedding, to share vows, to like express their most dear, precious moments with the people they care about most, doing so in the forest, knowing that those forests, those trees are protected, really adds a beautiful aspect to it that we love and our clients tell us that is really meaningful to them.
There's something about nature that does that. And I really believe you. Um I don't know. I can't even put words to it. Even I haven't even stepped foot in your redwoods. I've been in the redwoods, but there is something so magical about it. And I know that that word is so cliche, but it's really truly incredible what you've done. And I have a historic property, and in a different way, like here in our city, there hasn't been a lot of desire for restoring, or even just like they tear down all of the old things here in our city and they don't really care about it. And I kind of feel a similar way about our historic property, that it's a way that I'm protecting a little piece of history because it was a house built by one of the founding families of our city, and like most people don't care about that at all. And so I connect with you in some way about that, and that I just feel very responsible to care for it. And I appreciate the fact that you are caring for your little slice of heaven that you have there in Arcata. It's really, really special. So a lot of venue owners are similar to you in that they have a piece of property, they've lived on it a long time, and it just makes logical sense for them to turn it into a wedding venue. So for you guys, what were some unexpected challenges that you faced when you were just opening up?
Yeah, I'd love to weigh in on that. I want to just connect with what you just said about your venue. And I think the thing to double down on that connection is it's about caretaking, but I think both the ancient forests and you having historic property, I think what appeals to people is that direct, tangible connection, that continuity to the past as they're planning their future. Like being rooted on something that they can feel or see reaches into the past gives people a sense of confidence as they make plans for the future. So I think there's some really strong connective tissue there, whether it's a historic home or the forest. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think for us, for most of the journey of the weddings that we've had here, it's been a quiet thing that we've made available for friends and family and community members, but it wasn't really a main business thrust for us. We were raising kids, focusing on other businesses, and it wasn't until a couple years ago that Krista and I decided to really let go. Our kids are older now and out of the house, and double down on Ridgefield, take a fresh look at it and think, what would this look like if we wanted to focus full time on the business? And one of the things that we hit on pretty quickly was that we were going to need to be able to get the word out about Ridgefield. How do we get our business idea in front of people? And that really led us to understanding SEO and going down the road of finding a way to partner with someone to do SEO work for us. That has been the key, this unlocked connection to a much bigger community than we really envisioned, which has been a lot, and it's been incredibly gratifying, and it's energizing because you get feedback immediately from for us. We're doing weddings this year from Iowa to Denver, Texas, Alaska, Montana, across California, and it's just been humbling and overwhelming to see the response there. But the other piece that SEO led, and our friends over at Snowmad, was the fact that to really make this work, we needed to make a transition into being an all-inclusive venue. And for us, making that decision was huge. And at times during the trench work of making that happen, there were some thoughts of, is this going to be worth it? And, looking back, there was a number of reasons why it made sense to make that transition, which has been gratifying for us and hugely rewarding for our clients. One is that whatever happens at our venue reflects on us. And over the years, we've had those odd weddings where Uncle Joe's going to do the catering and the food is horrible and it's an hour late and it's cold. And I can hear guests muttering, I went to Ridgefield and the food was horrible. And so, on the one level, we realized everything reflects on us. And the only way we can really ensure that all of our vendors hit the bar that we're setting for ourselves is if we hand select and put that team together to operate as a team. That was one thing. The other thing is, because of our success with SEO and launching Ridgefield to the wider world, 90% of our clients are coming from out of our area as destination clients. They don't even know who the best vendors in our area are. And so having a package to be able to ensure that people are going to get great vendor experiences and helping them understand they're still going to be able to have all those touch points that allow them to make decisions that personalize the event to them. And then layering on top of that, the ease of administration. So instead of having a separate contract with a venue and a caterer and a florist and dessert and hair and makeup and on and on and on, all of that happens through Ridgefield. And it really streamlines things for our clients in a way that they love. It gives them the confidence they're going to have great vendor experiences, whatever they select in those vendor categories. And it ensures for us that we're going to be able to continue to put those fantastic all-inclusive events together.
So let me just pause here and just circle back to something that you said earlier on. So talking about what are some of the challenges that you face kind of at the beginning. And I think this is something really great to hit on for people that are new in this whole space. I could speak for you confidently and say, you didn't know about SEO when I know for myself, I had to Google what that even meant a few years ago. I didn't understand. And there are a lot of people that in the very beginning, that's the biggest challenge, right? You could start a business, but you don't have a business if people don't know where to find you. And there's a lot of venue owners out there that are doing SEO on your own, and that's fine. But what I could tell you is that from doing it on my own and just struggling through trying to figure it out, it is so many, the layers of an onion, man. And you just get deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And so you might be able to peel that outer layer of the onion with your Googling and things like that and trying to figure it out on your own. But if you're a new venue owner, don't start a business if you don't have the money to invest in the resources and the tools and the people to help you learn those things or even do those things for you, because you're going to waste more money, I believe, trying to figure it out on your own, making mistakes along the way. You only have one chance to drop the big pebble in the pond, and make the ripple and let people see who you are. I really encourage you. There's a lot of SEO companies out there. Scott and I personally work with Nomad Digital. Elizabeth has been a godsend for my venue and for Scott. She's been really, really fantastic. If you want us to connect you, of course, please reach out to either one of us and we'd be happy to give you an introduction. But I think that is really kind of in summary of everything that you're saying. You understood through SEO that you had an ideal client, which was destination weddings. And so that's kind of the second piece of that, as you're okay, you're a new venue owner, you start this business, but who are your ideal clients? When you know who that is, then you could plug that avatar into your SEO and do real targeted marketing. So that's really, really Huge. And it's worked well for you guys. And I think being a destination venue, you almost have to be all inclusive. Just because that's what people are looking for. And that's what's going to make it a really stress-free experience for them. So I love that so very much. And I've been really grateful to be on that journey with Scott and Krista too. And because all inclusive is my jam, we've been able to walk through that. And let me tell you, it's not easy, like Scott said. It is not easy, finding all the vendors and figuring out what that relationship is going to be, and negotiating pricing is never a fun thing. But what's so beautiful about the model is that everybody wins in those situations. And I think Scott and I share this passion that when he knows, like when he partners with this baker, that partnership is going to help bolster their business and that caterer and that florist. And like, it's not all about Ridgefield being the main one making the money. It's like all of these local small businesses that are able to also benefit from this new small business. Hopefully not always going to be small, but it's amazing what something like this can do for a small business like these people that you work with. So I love that so very much. Anything else that you would want to add about just unexpected challenges that you have faced here at the beginning?
I mean, yeah, I would like to double down on the SEO thing, burrow into that a little bit deeper, and just say one of the things I didn't understand about SEO was, of course, I understood it's a way to get your message out in front of people. But the other thing the incredible power it has is that it's the information that you get back on what's important to them. So the level of analytical detail and data that you get back, you can tell very specifically how did they find you and what were they looking for. And the reason that that's important is because it helps you really hone in on what is your value proposition? What is the thing about your venue that is appealing to people that are looking for you, that find you, that follow up with you? And that back and forth between putting yourself out there and then getting information back, it really, that back and forth is very instructive about not only what people are looking for, but what it is about you that makes you special. The other thing is that Elizabeth at Snowmad connected the two of us. And I think it's important as a new business owner in whatever business you're in to be humble and be open. And for me, I've always been focused on staying in my lane, right? Like I could Google SEO, but I'm never going to be a wizard at SEO like Elizabeth is. And so much better to invest in someone who already has that skill set. And another piece of that journey was about connecting with you and doing coaching about what would it mean to actually turn into an all-inclusive space instead of taking 2 or 3 or 5 years of trial and error figuring this out and spending an inordinate amount of time and money in the process. It's a really great idea to connect with someone who has those skills, who's already been down that path. There's no need to recreate the wheel. And I think for Krista and I, we got out of it a real crash course in how to start and transition into an all-inclusive venue, but also we got someone who has turned into a dear friend and someone that we can feel like we can connect and collaborate with. So definitely strong recommendations. As far as challenges for us particularly, I think a lot of it was, who are we? Who are our customers? When we started off, my goal was for us to be the very best venue in Humboldt County. And through the SEO journey, I realized that our client base is really the Western US. So that changed that proposition enormously. So really trying to think about and just really distill down just to the necessary piece. What do I need to share with people who are interested in Ridgefield? And learning to distill that messaging down and keep it really sharp and crisp has been really important. And learning to expect the unexpected, the kind of random things that can happen at your property that you never imagined would happen when there's, 150 people at your place. Some of those, when you have your sort of crazy tales from weddings past, we definitely have a few of those. So it's been a mixed bag of learning about who we are, learning how to communicate with our audience, and in both regards, leaning on the experience of people who've been in this particular industry longer than we have has been enormously helpful.
So let me just ask you one more question about, because I know you have other businesses, and a lot of people that start a venue are in a similar situation, and you're not able to just jump into venue ownership and make profit right away and be able to leave your career. So what are some maybe some tips or something, or ways that you have juggled having multiple other businesses?
Think, well, first and foremost, just learning from Elizabeth. The ropes of the industry saved us a lot of time and got us much further down the road much more quickly. The other thing is, this is true of all businesses, being something that's a real risk for new businesses, being undercapitalized, not having that ability to invest. And it can be overwhelming. For us, there was investments in multiple directions simultaneously. So while this has been our family home for 20 years, we're undergoing a lot of infrastructure investment to really dial it in for event hosting. So there's a lot of physical infrastructure work there. There is the investment in putting together all of the customer facing pieces, whether it's website, our packages, our vendor team, all of that, hiring employees. So I think making sure that you have sufficient capital to make that investment up front means that you get to a sustainable profitability place much quicker, and having realistic expectations about what that looked like. We gave ourselves a couple years to get our team together and get to what we would consider a fully booked calendar. I'm just excited to say that we're 70+% booked for next year. Our venue business, our bookings are going to be up 6x over last year. And I think after, year 3 is when we're going to have paid back our infrastructure investments, and we'll be looking at profit. And I think having realistic expectations is really important, because otherwise you can perhaps set yourself up for disappointments.
Yes. And I really, again, just want to reiterate that when people are starting their business, even when you're applying for a loan and you're building something from scratch, you need to anticipate putting those people in place that are going to help you expedite getting you to the place that you need to be. Can you do it yourself? Yes. But it's going to be more profitable for you in the end to get those experts in place to help you get there as fast as possible. It's like going to the gym. You could go to the gym and pump some weights if you want, but you have a trainer right next to you showing you how to target it and how to really hone in on, those target areas. You're going to get there so much faster. And it's exactly like that with those key people that you need to put in place. And being in year 3, when you go into year 3 making profit, that's actually fantastic. It's real. There's businesses like, I think it's Papa John's or some pizza company I read about once, that when you buy a franchise, they say you're not going to turn a profit for 10 years or something like that. And that's just normal expectation. But I really think that people under anticipate what it takes to get this ball rolling and rolling really well. So I'm so glad that you said that. But I'm really proud of you, Scott, and what you guys have done. You have been an example of humility. And I just want to close with saying that to anyone that is listening, that if you are not willing to put yourself out there to people that have gone before you, the people that know things a little bit more than you, and be willing to receive their constructive feedback, you're not going to get where you need to go. You're not. And to be able to have the humility to let someone look at your website. And, Scott and I have had a lot of these conversations and be like, hey, I'm not sure about this picture, or maybe you should adjust this wording or this or that. That don't take it so personal, that there are people out there that could look at that objectively and give you that feedback that you really, really desperately need. So, this has been such a great conversation, Scott. I thank you so much for sharing more about Ridgefield with us and the listeners. And it's exciting to see that there's people out there like you that are using their spaces, that have such big hearts, that it's not all about the almighty dollar. Of course, we want to make it, but it's about being a great steward of that space that has been, a part of your family for such a long time. I think it's a really beautiful thing. So any closing thoughts that you would have for our listeners today before I let you go?
Yeah, really, I think whatever you're applying yourself to, always being focused on listening is really a key, which kind of connects to what you were just saying. For me, whether it's listening carefully to my wife in our love and business partnership, listening to mentors like you and Elizabeth as far as business creation, listening to our couples and really hearing what it is that they want and what's going to make it special for them. Listening is at the heart of learning, and that's the most rewarding part of what we're doing here at Ridgefield.
I love it. I love it so much. So if you want to follow along with Scott and Chris's journey at Ridgefield, again, like I said, their Instagram will be in our show notes. And of course, he's always quick to respond on social media. So please give them a follow. They really have such a beautiful little piece of heaven over there in Arcata. But as you're listening, be sure to hit like and subscribe and get notified of future episodes. If you would like to be a guest on the show, you could also look at the link in our show notes to apply to be on. We would love to speak with any other venue owners out there that feel passionate about what you're doing and would love to share your story as well. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Venue Success Podcast. See you later.